You boys twins?
As promised, we have our special secret cast member from the film Sinners. We have Dave Maldonado. Dave, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey y'all, I'm Dave Maldonado. I play Hogwood in the movie Sinners. Don't hold that against me. Directed by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan. I recently had the opportunity to meet with Hollywood at Ovation and Jorge Amir. We talk about what it was like working on the movie, working with those two guys.
You HOGWOOD?
You boys twins?
Nah, we cousins.
That's good. Here she is. He moved a ton of timber a month back in his heyday. Workers lived upstairs.
Y'all wash these floors?
Yeah.
What was on them?
I thought y'all was dead set on buying the place. More time I spend with y'all, the less sure I am you boys are serious about it.
Ain't no boys here. I just grown men. With grown men money and grown men bullets.
I didn't mean nothing by it. Just the way we talk down here.
Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Hollywood at Ovation with Jorge Amir. As promised, we have our special secret cast member from the film Sinners. We have Dave Maldonado. Dave, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
Dave, you are part of a film that is changing the way we make and watch movies. You have done a really, truly magnificent movie with all of your cast members and anyone who had to do with this movie. Tell us a little bit about what was it like, or what is it like being in a movie so special like Sinners?
It is pretty special. You're right about that. I went to the premiere in New York, and I really didn't know what to expect. I hadn't seen a horror film in a long time. Wasn't really my bag the last couple of years. But as it started and I was just bobbing my head, the music was just incredible. The music plays throughout the whole thing. Really, really good score to the movie. And just the blending of the genres and the music, and, some really profound messages in there about the history. And I got chills a few times. And when it was all over, I knew that it was really something special, that it's something, in my opinion, that's never been done before. If you think you're just going to see a horror movie and that's it, then you're in for something special. It's so much more than that. It's really taking on a life of its own, and people really seem to be enjoying it. They're really responding to it.
Now that you've told us a little bit about that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? What got you interested in acting? How did Dave Maldonado come about going from Louisiana to Texas to this major Hollywood production?
Well, I grew up in South Louisiana, New Iberia specifically, which is about as far from Hollywood as you can get. And growing up, I was an artist. So I was always drawing in a sketchbook. All of my ambitions, turns out, were not very practical. So that's what I majored in college. I was an artist, an art major. And I figured if I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to try to get a job, I should be a commercial artist. So that's what I majored in college. But then I figured out you have to be really good at the computer. for that to work, and I was not, and I am not. So, but at that time, I was still kind of, dabbling in acting, taking acting classes here and there. I had done the high school musical in high school with my wife, my future wife, who is now an engineer. So, yeah, the standards for the production, you didn't have to be a true thespian to be in that show. But that was a lot of fun, and that's why I did it. It was more for fun. But I kind of learned that I kind of had a knack for it, and kind of dabbled in it in college, and that's when I really got the bug. Was in college, taking acting classes, really learning about the craft, and really got a hold of me, and so then I started doing plays. I would do once I figured out that's what I wanted to do. I started auditioning for plays, community theater, plays at the university, and I would just audition for everything I possibly could, and I did as many shows as I possibly could. So once I figured out I wanted to be an actor, I went all in, and I was acting in everything possible. And then at that point, started kind of looking into some student films, indie films, things like that. And I really like the medium of film. I love theater. I love the interaction with the audience. That immediate gratification that you get from an audience is incredible. If you're doing a drama, you can, everything's quiet, and afterwards they come up to you and they say, "Wow, that was incredible. That was really profound. That affected me," which was great. And when you're doing comedies, there's nothing better than holding for a laugh. I mean, it's just a great feeling when you're in a comedy on stage, and you have the next line, but you have to wait, for that for that laugh to kind of subside. When you say a line and it gets a big laugh and you're just soaking it in, and you have to wait for that laugh to kind of calm down, and then you come in with your next line and get a little bit more laugh. It's a great feeling. So then, I guess 20 plus years ago, we moved to Texas, and that's when I got an agent and really started pursuing more film and television productions, small and big. Started working these relationships, started building these relationships with all the casting directors in Texas, and then Louisiana started coming on as a film production hub. And 20 years later, and I'm still doing it. And the Southeast is just, it's a hub for film and television. It rivals California, in my opinion, especially in Atlanta. And Texas and Louisiana are starting to kind of put the pieces together with incentives and laws that they're passing, bills that they're passing rather, to kind of build the film business in Louisiana and Texas. So, things are looking up. It looks like it's moving in the right direction, and I'm excited.
When you first saw Sinners, because it's really something when you're making a movie to when you actually see the movie, because you have your part and what you're doing with it. What was it like when you sat down at the very first screening of Sinners with the rest of the cast? Tell us a little bit about the vibe and what was happening. And after you saw the film, what was going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't experience all the vampire aspects of the film. I didn't get to fight any vampires, which I'll be okay. But so I do like garlic though. So while filming, I'm mainly just trying to show up and do the best work that I can do, to play that little piece of the puzzle, play my part, and try to contribute as best I can. I don't really worry too much about how it's going to turn out as a whole. because I can't really control that. So, I just showed up every day and tried to do my best work and, tried to deal with that Louisiana heat and that 1930s wardrobe um, and also with a big dip in my mouth. They gave me some beef jerky to kind of replicate that at first because they didn't want me to have dip in my mouth because they're worried about my health. And so we tried that at first, and it really burned. It was in there and really burned more than an actual dip does. So I had got my own can of the bandits, the little skull bandits. So, because I wanted to really get the feeling of what it was like, the nicotine and everything in your system, and really use that in the performance. And when you're spitting with a dip in your mouth, you can't really replicate that. It has to be some dip in there, and the spit has to be brown and thick. So I decided to go ahead and go all in, and I dipped the entire time. And I did prepare for that and walked around New Orleans with a dip in my mouth so I could get that feeling and get used to it. But yeah, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. At the premiere in New York, I was just taking it all in, It was a little bit overwhelming to be on that red carpet, which took some coercing to get on the red carpet. They didn't know who the hell I am. So I talked to 3 or 4 different people at security, and they all kind of turned me away. So finally I got to one guy and I was like, hey, I need to be on the red carpet, So he's like, well, do you have any credentials or anything? And I showed him the IMDb page. And I'm like, well, that's me. I'm in the movie. He's like, oh, okay, come on in. So thankfully they had my name. For future reference, giving your name helps, not just relying on your chiseled features. So I finally got in there and did some interviews and took that all in. And then we sat down to watch the film. And I was, I don't really watch horror much anymore. It was going to be the first horror film that I had seen in a long time. But once the movie started, I can tell you I was bobbing my head from beginning to end because the music is so incredible and it's laid down under everything. It really gets you that feeling of being in the scene, and the music was just so incredible. And then I got chills several times. And then realized that it's so much more than a vampire flick or a horror movie. There's so much more profound messages in the story. And once it was done, I think everybody kind of had the same feeling that this is something special. This is really something special. It's something that I don't think has ever been done before. It's a very unique piece of film. And I think first thing I thought of was that it's never been done. And second thought was, come award season, some of these cast members are going to be having to make some trips to these award shows. I think it's going to be up for a lot. And I might be a little biased, but that's my honest opinion. I think it's really special. And I'm pumped.
So the movie has come out and is done bang up business against all odds, because there's some people that were actually vying, thinking that the movie would fail because of its large budget, but it didn't. It actually outdid expectations. Tell me what that means to you, of being part of something so special. And how has that changed your career? Like, are you getting more phone calls? What is it like going to the supermarket? Are people recognizing you, hunting you down? Or, what's it like?
Hadn't quite got to that level yet. I've had a lot more people reach out. Some people that want to work with me and represent me in different ways, and more opportunities for interviews and things like that, like you, for instance. Um, yeah, most of the time I just kind of get stared at, which is disconcerting at times. Um, wondering who I am. Uh, but that's great. Thankfully I've lost about 20 pounds since filming Sinners. So got the beard gone. Usually wear a hat because I'm growing my hair out. See, uh, and wear glasses most of the time because I can't see a damn thing. So yeah, so I am incognito a lot of the time. So it's not a huge problem with people recognizing me. I do, since I go to the gym every day, and more people are seeing the movie. I do get recognized there from time to time, and then word of mouth kind of spreads, and they're like, "Hey, that's." So I'm in the middle of a set, I'm blasting triceps or something, and I'll have somebody waiting patiently behind me, and take my earbuds out, and they're like, "Hey, were you that guy in that movie?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah," and they're like, "Oh, it's so good," which is always great to hear. So they tell somebody, but yeah, it's cool, man. I enjoy it. It's nice to be recognized for something good, So yeah, mostly at the gym, not so much at the grocery store, but that's one of my goals. One of my goals has always been, as an actor, to be recognized by someone while looking at zucchini.
So, Dave, tell us also, what did you do to prepare to do this role of the head of the KKK? Because that has to be a very, very intense role to sink your teeth into, and interesting enough, I mean, especially you have a last name Maldonado, so you've got some Spanish heritage in you. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what was it like for you as with Latin heritage to have a role like this, and what you might have done to prepare to tackle such a role?
Yeah, I don't necessarily wear my Latino on my sleeve, as it were. I'm a pretty pale Latino, so looking at me, you don't really see it. My brother, on the other hand, I have a fraternal twin brother, and he got all the pigmentation, and that's something that I've had to deal with and work through. He can also hit a baseball a mile. So yeah, he got the hitting skills and the tan, and but I can dance. He can't dance a lick. So we work with the gifts that we're given. Yeah, and the history of the Klan, I mean, it's well documented. We all know the history and the horrors of what happened, and I think a lot of the guys that were involved in this, they were just following others who they trusted and who they believed in, and they thought they were doing the right thing, as awful as it was. So the basic principles of this character, I try not to overcomplicate things. I mean, basically, he had no respect for the Smokestack twins, and he was trying to pull a fast one on them. And he had years and years and generations of history beaten into his brain that this is the way it should be and this is the way it is. And there's a reason why he acts the way he does, and why he's the way he is. So yeah, I mean, there's always a reason for it. I try not to overcomplicate the reasons, because I think that just gets in the way. Yeah, this guy, and he ends up being fairly pathetic toward the end. So yeah, he kind of gets his comeuppance a little bit. Yeah, so we can take comfort in that.
So during your audition process, I know you get a piece of the script, to see what you need to do and what you can contribute to the movie. Did the did your perspective of what you were studying in the sides match to the story that is being told? I mean, you get the sides, you get a piece of the movie, and you're thinking, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, and then you see the grand scope of things as you're shooting them, or even as it's done. Did that match your expectations? And if so, how? And how has it? How has your perspective evolved from that to the film now as a finished product?
No, no, it didn't. I got the audition, and all we had was the side. All we had was the scene, the sides. I didn't know what the movie was. I didn't know who the director was. I didn't know who was attached to it. Um, which for me is a good thing. Like, I don't want to know. I'm going to try to give my best effort in every opportunity, and give it the most attention and give it what it deserves without knowing who's involved. Um, I don't want to know if that I'm going into a room with Scorsese. I don't want to know that. Just just send me in there and let me do my thing, and let me deal with him on a more practical level as a human. And I think they appreciate that too. So yeah, I went in, read for it, met Ryan, who I knew that Ryan Coogler had directed Creed, the Creed movies, the Black Panther movies, Fruitvale Station. A lot of times I don't put names to the faces a lot of times, so these names are just these abstract directors. So when I went in, I didn't know who he was. So which was also good, went in there and I did my thing, and it was a very cool, casual, relaxed atmosphere. And we did it a few different times, and gave him a little pound, and left. I was like, all right, cool, that went well. And then I got to my sister's house in Baton Rouge and was just scrolling through my phone and saw an article that said Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan set to film in New Orleans. And I was like, oh, that's the guy I met today. Oh, Michael B. Jordan's in the movie. That's cool. Yeah, I hugged him today. So that was cool, man. It was like I had no idea what the movie was, or so. Then after getting the role, we went to the table read, and I hadn't read the script yet. So first time we're reading it is at the table read. The first time I'm reading it, everybody else had read it a few times. So we're reading it, and at some point the story shifts, and they introduce vampires, and I just looked around the room. I'm like, what's going on? You got to be kidding me. So I was definitely taken aback by that, for sure. Also, there's a lot of really, really good singing in this movie. And guess who one of the people they had to do the singing in the table read? Yeah. That was not my finest moment. I was reading through it beforehand, my parts, and I was like, you guys got me singing in this? Okay. I can carry a tune in a bucket, but not like those guys. So yeah, it was definitely a realization that there's a lot more going on in this movie than just the scene I was doing, trying to sell the Smokestack Twins this abandoned sawmill. Yeah.
So Dave, tell us what would be your words of wisdom for someone who maybe is coming from Louisiana or Texas, who wants to get into the business, and they don't know exactly quite how to go about it. What would you suggest them to do?
Well, all I can tell them is what I did and what worked for me. Um, I think in that movie, Throw Mama from the Train, um, Billy Crystal says, a writer writes always. And if you're an actor, you got to act in everything, especially at the beginning. Everything. Do everything you possibly can. Somebody's doing a student film, go do that student film. Audition for everything. Theater, films, everything. When you're ready, get an agent. I was doing theater. I was doing dinner theater in Lafayette, 20 something years ago. And somebody at rehearsal said, you should get an agent. And I said, well, you can't just go get an agent. And they said, yeah, that's what you do. You go get one. It's like, okay. So I went and got an agent and had more opportunities through that. And a big part of what got me to the next level, I guess, or got me to be a little bit more successful is just breaking out of my shell a little bit. I think whatever gift I have for acting was always there. I just needed to have the courage to get up there and do it in front of people, to go to acting class and stand in front of the class and do a monologue, to get on stage and perform in front of an audience, to go to rehearsal every night and just make mistakes and not be off book yet and go through all that stuff. And that all, built this kind of foundation for what I have now. So yeah, just do it. Go do it. Audition for films, plays, everything you get your hands on. Now you're going to have a side gig. I had lots of side gigs. I bartended throughout college. I worked at Michael's Frame Shop in Houston when we got here. And you got to juggle all that stuff. But once you figure out that this is what I want to do, and this is my calling, I guess you could say, just do it, man. Just do it. And it's a marathon. For me, it was a marathon, a really long road. But just do the right things every day. If you're working, if you're doing scene studies with your friends, if you're, going to plays, going to movies, and networking with some of these people. I hate that word as a verb. Networking. I never really believed in that, but it's a thing. But for me, it's just going out and meeting people and finding out new ideas and ways of thinking and making some connections here and there. But that all comes down to being your authentic self and showing people who you are. I don't like going to an event just to network. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to share who I am, and I want to learn who they are. That's where networking, I think, should be the foundation for. It's going to find some resources, and you might meet a guy who's knows somebody who's filming a movie. Like, yeah, okay, well, they put you in contact, and things happen. And I also I did corporate films, I did industrials, I did commercials, I did all that stuff. There's a lot of people in the film industry, peers of mine that don't really subscribe to commercial work. They're like, no, I'm a film actor. I don't do commercials, and that's fine. If that's you. But here's the thing about commercials. People who film commercials and work on commercials and direct commercials also direct and work on films. So you're meeting people that might be shooting a feature next year, or you might be working with a director who's got a script, who's looking to produce it in a few months. So you're working with people that are in the industry. You can also make a nice little paycheck for a couple of days' work and get some new headshots or pay your rent. Now, if you don't agree with the product and you know it goes against your moral whatever, you know, more power to you. Um, but you're also on set. You're on a commercial set, which is somewhat similar to a film set. There are a lot of differences. A lot, you know, a lot not nearly as complicated, but you're learning to hit a mark, and you're learning about camera angles, and you're learning to, you know, to be in your light and all that stuff. So yeah, do everything, do it all, do it.
So, and what was it like to be directed by Ryan or have Michael B. Jordan as a collaborator? Because I mean, that's, you know, people don't get to do that every day. So please tell us, give us the tea, and what was your experience like working with them, especially Ryan as a director?
I can't say enough good things about those two guys. You know, Ryan, as brilliant as he is so chill. He's such a chill guy. Um, you know, there's some directors that are kind of gruff, and they're, you know, kind of authoritative. I don't dig that too much. Ryan is a very chill guy. Definitely put me at ease. And you know, over the course of filming this, you know, long days in the Louisiana heat, a lot of complicated shots. You know, Michael plays twins. You know, they had to shoot all this stuff twice. They had a lot of, thankfully, cool new equipment that I didn't even see until afterwards in some of these, you know, YouTube and TikTok videos, to accomplish what they did. But the thing is, as much pressure as those guys were under, Ryan is trying to get this thing in on time. He's under a deadline. He's got all these complicated shots that he's trying to deal with. He's trying to deal with an entire crew and cast to accomplish it. Michael is the lead. You know, it's all riding on him, whether it's a success or not. I never witnessed those two guys lose their cool, get impatient with someone else. The only time I ever saw Michael, you know, get impatient was with himself when he, you know, would drop a line or something like that. They were humble and kind the entire time, and I was so impressed by that. Hasn't been my experience all the time, you know. Guys are jerks sometimes, you know, and they're under a lot of pressure, and sometimes that's how it comes out. But it really speaks to what kind of people they are, what kind of men they are, that they treated everyone with kindness and respect and humility the whole time. And yeah, I mean, and they're brilliant. So pretty cool.
So this film, interesting enough, it came out very early in the year, but it has broken several records, movie making records, and is a few months away from award season. But I'd like to know, how do you see this movie come award season time? Do you think it might be up for a few Oscars? It might sweep the Oscars. I personally think this movie is actually going to sweep the Oscars, and I'm committed to interviewing all of the cast, as many casts as I can have on this show, to make sure that this movie is in the public consciousness, so we can kind of just go right into award season strong. And I can put in my 2 cents as well by interviewing actors such as yourself. Tell me, what do you see happening or foreseeing? Because a lot of times, you know, you make a movie, you don't quite know what's going to happen when a film is made. Did you have any ideas as to how big this movie would be?
Oh well, it was an amazing experience. It's a profound movie. It's not just a vampire movie. There's so much more going on. Um, I was I got chills watching that movie. It was inspiring. Um, so many different genres blended together. It's a very unique piece of film, and my first thought when it was completed was that there's nothing else like this. Nobody's ever done this before. Um, Not just a straight horror film or a straight vampire film. There were so many more elements with the music and the history. It was amazing. I had a really good feeling at the end that we got something special, and that uh, we're gonna see ourselves at some award shows here soon. I think it's gonna get a lot of consideration during award season.
So, Dave, what a pleasure it was speaking with you. I mean, like, this has been an out of body experience for me because I saw this film 12 times at the movie theaters. I mean, and I saw it because I felt the need. There's so many Easter eggs in this movie, especially with your character, because your character is one of those that, unless you paid close attention to it, you really don't know or realize how insidious your character is, especially towards the end of the film, when it is revealed to the public the real plans that your character Hogwood had for these two gentlemen. What do you think of that, and what do you think of the character as he was built, and especially? What do you think you as an actor brought to this character?
Yeah, I mean, these kind of characters, they're kind of in my wheelhouse. Not so much the racist part, but just Southern guys, that are kind of comfortable in their skin and enjoy sweating in 1930s wardrobe, that kind of thing. Um, and brought all my life experience and all the work I've done to get here. Um, yeah, these are the kind of roles that I gravitate to. I read for a lot of attorneys and kind of people that have all their stuff together. I would much rather be the guy on the stand who's getting grilled by the attorney than the attorney doing the grilling. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just kind of roles I'm drawn to. Uh, we all have to kind of find those kind of niche roles that we're best suited for, and this is definitely one of them for me.
All right, Dave. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on next. What I heard around town that there's a Netflix film that you're working on, and tell us what it's all about and when can we see it, and any future plans that you have as far as any other roles that you're tackling or you're about to.
You heard correct. Got a new Netflix series that'll be coming out in a few months. His and Hers, it's called, and starring John Bernthal, Tessa Thompson. Which when I saw that they were attached, I got really excited. When I saw the title, His and Hers, which is based on a book, my first thought was like, oh, is this a rom com? What's going on here? But it turns out it's a murder mystery set in a small Mississippi town. So worked in Mississippi, set in Mississippi for Sinners, set in Mississippi for His and Hers. So had a dialect coach for both. Try to get that Mississippi accent right. And so I play the sheriff in this one. I play a lot of law enforcement for some reason, which I'm always proud to do. Thank you for your service, ladies and gentlemen. And so yeah, I play the sheriff, play Bernthal's superior in this series. So got to mix it up with him quite a bit, which was dream come true. Yeah, we kind of butt heads from time to time. So yeah, and he was great to work with. Tessa Thompson, fantastic. William Oldroyd, rather, as a director. And yeah, that should be out in a few months on Netflix. And again, I think it's going to be something special, something that we haven't seen before.
So, question. So, you live in Texas, and interesting enough, I actually you're wearing a Texas A&M hat, and I went to Texas Tech, which we are rivals back in Texas, and football is so huge in Texas. Tell me a little bit about. Do you feel like living in Texas is an advantage or disadvantage as far as you having access to roles for movies? I mean, how is living out of the hub of movies worked for you? I mean, does it? Do you find it like there's more opportunity in the area that you're at?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Southeast is a hub now for film and television, especially Atlanta. And Texas and Louisiana are really, they're gaining on them. It's like once we get the bills passed for incentives and budgets and that sort of thing, we'll be right up there with them. And with the way the industry is remote, you can audition from anywhere. You might have to get on a plane for a call back to Atlanta or New Orleans. But, there's really no excuse now to kind of pursue it. There may be a little bit of a, big fish in a little pond situation, maybe medium pond. I don't know. I work with people from time to time that are from LA, and their their reaction to me is like, "What are you doing here? Like, what are you doing in Texas? What are you doing in Atlanta? You need to be in LA." But I got two kids, and they're going to A&M. Gig 'em. And I wanted them to grow up and go to school around here. I didn't want them to live out there. Nothing against LA. I've never lived there, so I don't. I like it here. I like it in the South. I like it in the Southeast. So there's plenty of opportunity here. There's kind of a mindset that a lot of the bigger roles are going to be cast in LA, and we're going to basically get the crumbs in the Southeast, and that may be true sometimes. But I've built these relationships with a lot of these casting directors, for the past 20 years, and a lot of times they'll fight for me in the room. I'll go in there and I'll read for a role that maybe a little smaller, and they'll suggest, "Hey, why don't you have him read for this?" And hopefully I do a good job, and they're kind of my champion in the room. They convince these guys that I'm worthy of something a little more. So yeah, I mean, is it an advantage? Is it a detriment to live in this area? For me, it's where I'm supposed to be. And I've had a lot of success here, and I'm thankful. Try to make the most of every opportunity.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have Dave Maldonado. Dave is actually is going to be doing something special for us. He's actually going to recommend another surprise cast member for you to experience. So yes, this is not the end of our cast interviews from the Sinners film. We will have more, and we will get them one by one and get insight into what their experience was like, so you, our audience, can experience and can get the inside scoop of what it was like working in such an amazing movie, Sinners, which right now is still playing in theaters, but is also available on home services. So anyhow, thank you very, very much for following us, for liking us, for subscribing for our channel. We're also on Patreon, at Patreon, Jorge Ameer. And stay tuned, because there's a lot more coming up when it comes to Sinners. And we will have another surprise guest for you. Follow, subscribe, and like us for an interview with a surprise cast member from Sinners. You will not want to miss that episode, so stay tuned.